Hello all, welcome to Naresh IT Labs. In this video, we will be discussing about what is ArrayList and what are the different types of ArrayList we have and what is the difference between arrays and ArrayList. So let's go into Eclipse. So I'm creating a new class and I would be naming it as ArrayList concept. So public static void main I'm selecting, click on finish button. Now first, to discuss about the syntax of ArrayList, we need to say ArrayList define some variable. I'm saying as al is equal to new array list. Open and close the half circle brackets with a semicolon. So this is the syntax of the array list. So now I will go and define a array list, array list space al is equal to new array list. Open and close the bracket with a semicolon. Now array list, we need to import it from java.util. So click on this java.util. So your array list will be imported. So in this java.util.arraylist, we have some methods that we can perform on the array list. If we have to get those methods, we need to import that. So once you import, we can start using this array list. So the main reason why we use array list, so the purpose of using ArrayList is to store multiple values. So the same concept we have discussed even in arrays also. So what is the purpose of arrays? Arrays are meant for storing multiple values. So both are meant for storing the multiple values, but there is a difference between arrays and ArrayList, which we will be discussing later in this video. So first, how do we basically define a array list? So this is how we have defined. Now I can start storing the values. So whenever you have written this line of code, behind the scenes, Java will create one particular box. So this box, where the name for this particular box is given as AL, and the index of this particular box will start with 0. So now I can store some value in this particular box. So now what I'll do, I will go and I will start adding the values here. So how do you add a values in the array list? Adding values in array list. So to add the values in the array list, al dot, there is a method called add method. See that? So now I'm going to use this al.add and whatever value I want to add. Let's say I want to add 100. Now this 100 will go and store in this particular place. Now suppose if I want to add another value, al.add 200. So whenever I write this code, now what will happen with the array list? Your size will be expanded. So it will expand, and the index for this will be 1, and the value that is stored here is 200. Now suppose if I want to add another value, I'm going to say al dot add 300. So this 300 will go and store here by expanding that box to one more. The index for this will be 2, and that 300 will be stored here. Now suppose if I want to add another value, al dot add 400. So the box will be expanded and that 400 will be stored here. Index for this will be 3 and 400 will be stored here. So with regards to the array list, the index of the array list will start with 0. Array list index will start with 0. And the second thing is, in array list, your size is not fixed. The size of your array list is dynamic. That means you can store how many values you want in the array list. So the second thing is array list is dynamic in nature. And the third thing, dot add method is used to add values in array list. So that is what we have done now. And now, how do we print or how do we get the value from the array list? Now what I would like to do, I would like to print the value which is stored in index number 2. So here, just for our reference sake, this is index 0, index 1, index 2, and index 3. Suppose if I want to print the value which is stored in index number 2, what I need to do? So here we are discussing about getting the value from array list. So to get the value from array list, al dot get, we need to pass the index. So get is a method we use in array list to get the value from array list. We need to pass the integer, which is nothing but a index number. So I want to get the value from index number 2. So let me go and print this. System.out.println. So here I am saying value in index number 2 is plus al dot get of 2. So let's see, the output it should display is 300. So if I run this, the output which is there in index number 2 is 300. So this is how you will get the value from array list. Dot get is the method used to get the value from array list. So now, how do we basically print all the values from the array list? So I want to get all the values from the array list. Getting all the values from array list. So before we go into this, I would like to know how many values are there in my array list. So I want to get the total number of values. So that means I want to print what is the number of values present in the array list. So here if you see 1, 2, 3, 4. How do I get this 4 from Java? So now getting the size of array list. So to get the size of array list, it will be al dot, there is a method called size method. Size will return a integer which is used to get the which is used to get the size of the array list. So now I am printing the size of this array list. So let me print it. Total number of values in array list is plus al dot size. Now this should give you the size of the array list. Run. The total number of values in array list is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So dot size method dot size method is used to get the number of values from array list. So now how do I get all the values? I want to print all the values from the array list. So I want to get 1, 2, 3, 4. So to get a single value, we have seen this. How do you get all the values from the array list? I need to use a for loop. Index over array. I is equal to 0. I less than. So how do we get this 4 here using this al dot size? So I'm saying I less than al dot size I plus plus system dot out dot println al dot get. I'm passing the index which is I. So the program first I value is 0. Is 0 less than 4, which is valid. It will increment by 1. It will go and print the first value. Now I value is 1. Is 1 less than 4, condition is still valid. Increment by 1 more, which will be 2. It will print the second value. Now I value is 2. Is 2 less than 4, condition is still valid. It will increment by 1 more, which will be 3. It will print the third value. Now I value is 3. Is 3 less than 4, condition is still valid. It will increment by 1 more, which will be 4. It will go and print the fourth value. Now I value is 4. Is 4 less than 4, condition is not true. It will come out of the loop. So now if you run, it should print 100, 200, 300 and 400. So this is how you will be getting all the values from the array list. Now I want to delete the value from array list. So I want to delete the value from array list. So to delete the value from array list, remove value from array list. So to remove the value from array list, al dot remove is the method where we need to pass the index number. Enter. I want to remove the value of index number 1. I want to remove this value. So I'm passing that index number 1 here. So if you start executing the program, it will delete this. So index will still be there. It will delete this. Now once it delete this 300, so this 300 will go from here to here. So this 400 we will move from here to here. So now if you execute the program, 300 will go to index number 1 and 400 will go to index number 2. And what will happen to this index number 3? This will be deleted. This particular box will be removed. Okay, so something like this. So this 300 will go here and 400 will go here, and this index number 3 will be removed automatically. Okay, let's see this. So now first I would be I would be getting the value which is stored in index number 1. Okay, so al dot get, I'm getting the value stored in index number 1. So as of now, the value before removing the value that is stored in index number 1, let's try to see. Value in index number 1, 1 is al dot get of 1. Now once I remove, I want to get the value which is there in index number 1. So value in index number 1 after removing is, okay. So let me run this. If you see, these are the 4 values. Now before removing, the value that is there in index number 1 is 200. Now after removing, because here we have removed the value that is there in index number 1, after you remove, the value that is there in index number 1 is nothing but 300. So before removing the value that is there in index number 1 is 200. Now after we removed, the value that is there in index number 1 is 300. Now before I remove the value, so the size of the array list is 4. Now after I remove the value, suppose if I have to get the size, so total number of values in array list after removing. So now it should give us 3. So the main reason why we go with array list is we can store multiple values, and in array list the size of the array list will be automatically increased or decreased based on the operations that you do. So this is where we can say the array list is of dynamic in nature. Now coming to your arrays, the same concept is not applicable there. In your arrays, the size is fixed. So as the size is fixed, it cannot increase or decrease automatically. So that is the reason why people will go with the array list in Java. Now this kind of array list, whatever we have seen, where we are able to store some values, we can store value of any data type. So here I am storing 100. Suppose if I want to store a string value, it will still accept. Suppose if I want to store a double value, it would accept. If I want to store a boolean value, it would still accept. So this kind of array list where it is accepting the value of any data type, this is called as raw array list. This is called raw array list. Now there is another type of array list where we can use a specific data type to be stored. Suppose if I want to store only integer values, I can use a array list which is a wrapper class, or we can use a concept called generics concept which is available in Java, which we'll be discussing now. All right. So let me comment. Okay, so now let's discuss about generics array list or a wrapper class which is available to store up specific data type. So first, let's see how we can store some integer values. Array list less than or greater than, less than and greater than. Here we need to say integer. So integer is a wrapper which is available to store a specific data type of integer. So we cannot use this. This is called as a data type. Here we need to use a wrapper for int, which is nothing but integer. I should be capital, and integer as a full word we need to write. So array list integer, give some variable name. I will say numbers is equal to new array list less than and greater than integer, open the bracket, half circle bracket, and closing of half circle bracket with a semicolon. So now in this we can store only the integer values. Numbers dot add 100, numbers dot add 200, numbers dot add 300. So like this, you can store only integer values. Suppose if you try to add some string values, it will not allow you. So it has to be of only integer values. Now again, if you want to get the size of it, this method. If you want to get the value, again this method. If you want to add any value, this is the method. And if you want to remove any value, method is used to delete value from array list. Right, so this is how you can define a generics array list. Now, how do you define a generics of string? So let's see. So here we are discussing about generics of string. Suppose I want to store the country names. Array list less than and greater than string, yes, should be uppercase. Country names is equal to new array list string, open and close the half circle brackets with a semicolon. Now I can start adding the country names. Country name dot add Canada. Country name dot add USA. Country country names dot add London. So this is how you can add a generics of string. Now suppose if I want to basically get the value which is stored in index number 1, again these methods are still applicable. So I'm just showing you how do you get the value that is there in index number 1. So system.out.println value in index 1 is country names dot get of I, sorry, get of 1. So this will give you the value which is there in index number 1, which is USA. So this is how of generic string that you can store. Now, how you can store generics of double value? ARRAY control space. You can also select from here. If you see array list, enter. Provide the generic thing what you want to use. Double. So array list double. AL is equal to new array list, and here again you are specifying double, open and close the bracket with a semicolon. AL dot add 12.3, AL dot add 13.1, AL dot add 14.5. Like this you can store double values. This is how the generics of double would be. Okay. Now there is another way where we can use a array list concept as a list. If you want to store, you can store the values. So here we are discussing about array list with as list concept. So list array list, I want to store string values. String, let's say day names. So day name, I want to store Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like that. So day name is equal to new array list. So new array list. So here you are specifying string. Rather than specifying string, you don't need to specify anything here, because here we are already saying it as a string. And inside this, you will say ARRAYS. So ARRAYS arrays dot as list. So which is available under java.util.arrays. So enter. So arrays dot as list. Now here you can store the values in double quotations. Sunday, comma, in double quotations, Monday, comma, Tuesday, comma, Wednesday, like this. Now again, if you want to get the total number of values that is available here, again the same concept, system.out.println day name dot size. So this will tell me number of values present in that array list, 4. It says 4. Now suppose if I want to replace, instead of this Sunday, I want to replace to Saturday, or instead of Tuesday, I want to replace to something else. Now instead of Sunday, I want to replace with my name. How you can replace? So here we are discussing about replacing an element. How do we replace an element? So day name dot, there is a method called set method where you need to specify the index. So if I want to replace Sunday with something else, index will be 0. If I want to replace Monday with something else, index will be 1. Tuesday index will be 2. Wednesday index will be 3. I want to replace Sunday, index is 0. I want to replace with my name Naresh with a semicolon. Now let's see what is the value that we will get if you take this index. So now Naresh will be replaced on top of Sunday. So now I am saying system.out.println day name dot get 0. Now if you run the program, it will say Naresh. So this January has been replaced by Naresh. So this is how you can store the values using your as list concept, and this is how you want to replace the value, you can replace it. Now coming to the differences between arrays and array list, let's closely see. In arrays, the syntax of declaring the array is string, let's say names, open and close the bracket, is equal to new string, and here I'm saying three values. So with this, you can store only three values. But coming to your array list, so let's say string days is equal to new array list less than greater than string, open and close the bracket with a semicolon. So here, if you see with this array list, one second. So here it is array list. So in your array list, you are not specifying any size. So your array list is of dynamic size. You can store any number of values you want. Coming to your arrays, you can store only the specified number of values. So this is one of the difference. And the second difference is in arrays, if you want to get the total number of values, you will use names dot length. So what names dot length will give you? So names dot length will give us the length of the array. Now coming to your array list, days dot size. So dot size method is used to get the size of the array list, and dot length method is used to get the length of the array list. That is the second difference. And the third difference, suppose if you are trying to store more values than the length, what kind of exception you get? Let's see. Names dot names of 0 is equal to Naresh. Names of 1 is equal to Kumar. Names of 2 is equal to Peter. Names of 3 is equal to John. Now suppose if I run this program, as you are storing 4 values but your length is defined as 3, it will give you an exception called array index out of bound exception. Now how do you basically what kind of exception you get when you are trying to get the value which is not in the index? Let's say days dot add Sunday, days dot add Monday. Suppose if you are trying to get the value which is out of this index, here you have stored only two values 0 and 1. Suppose if you are trying to get the index of 10, And what kind of exception you get? Here you get an exception called index out of bounds exception. So these are the differences that we have between a arrays and array list. So your arrays is of fixed values, and your array list, you can store how many values if you want, you can store it. So this is all about your array list. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.